for your participation here today. Obviously, America is a big place. The world is even bigger, and I think the discussions about trade and various in the economy in general are very important. You know, it's been interesting as a representative from Nebraska, one of a number of plains and mountain west states, others being South Dakota, Wyoming, Utah. Other notable states have fallen far below average unemployment and lower costs of living throughout a lot of the economic downturn. And what has been interesting, obviously, is that these states don't experience the substantial economic highs nor those lows that perhaps some other states have. And so I was wondering if you could reflect a little bit on the observations you may have made throughout the last few years about the differences between regions of the country, more specifically even states, because obviously we had our share of challenges in Nebraska amidst the economic downturn, but certainly we did not see that high unemployment rate that other states saw. Could any of you reflect on that a bit, perhaps starting with Dr. Holtz-Eakin?
I think the number one thing that differs going into the crisis is the state of housing markets. Housing markets were an integral part of the Great Recession. We had two different kinds of bad housing markets. We had the one everyone hears about, which is the California, Nevada, Arizona, Florida style big housing bubble collapse, and the roller coaster ride that visited on everything related to housing. The Midwest had a very different housing problem. They never saw the housing bubble and collapse, but those were bad economies, and they weren't growing rapidly, and people turned their houses into second mortgages and third mortgages to get cash out of them because they were really struggling. And when the recession hit, they couldn't keep it up. And that was a very different style of housing problem. And the state's experiences, I think, start with those differences. They then differed greatly depending on their oil and natural gas opportunities. The energy states did much better than did the rest quickly for reasons we've discussed already. And then I think the third thing is, state government matters. I mean, in terms of the quality of the policymaking, some states went in terrible financial shape and were unable to help and assist the private sector. Others, like Indiana, went in great shape. I don't know the details of every state, but I'd look at those factors as well.
Thank you. Mr. Feldstein?
Housing was very important, and there's a danger we're going to create some of those same problems again. As I understand the new rules, Fannie and Freddie will take mortgages with 3% down payments, 97% loan-to-value ratio. That doesn't sound like a good idea. The notion was that mortgage originators should have an incentive to be careful by keeping some skin in the game, 5%. That's been scrubbed. That's not part of the new rules. So I think we're creating a possibility that we're going to see in different parts of the country serious problems if house prices don't continue to rise at a uniform rate.
Right, but looking back, were there any observations you made in terms of states that had relatively low unemployment in comparison to states?
Well, I think that what Dr. Holtz-Eakin said is quite right, that there were big differences in what had proceeded in the housing area, and therefore the downturn was much more serious in some areas where house prices had gotten way out of line. But if I can buy a house with only 3% down, there's going to be a temptation to start running up house prices again in those markets.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Just to pick up on one point made by Mr. Holtz-Eakin, which is many states do not have fiscal capacity to deal with crises. They either don't have the resources, they're not able to borrow, or maybe they run in a way that's a little too close to the edge, or they have balanced budget legislation. And that's why what the federal government does in terms of fiscal policy is particularly important. And that's why I think we should, on a forward-looking basis, before it gets to a situation where there's a lot of rhetoric and confrontation, think about what is the right way for fiscal policy to be involved in any future difficulties that occur at a state level, a regional level, or at the national level. As I recall, at the end of 2007, early 2008, when you had a Republican president, there was a lot of Republican voices who were in favor of a fiscal stimulus at that point. I think Mr. Feldstein testified in some of those hearings, and had a big impact. We should think about that before it gets partisan again.
Thank you. And one additional question, Professor Holtz-Eakin. Do you believe that would Trade Promotion Authority actually help American agriculture?
Yes, we have the most productive and efficient agricultural sector on the planet, and opening up, for example, Japanese agriculture markets is a big opportunity if it can be done.
Are they here?
I agree. Thank you. I yield back.